Welcome to the January 24th, 2022 meeting of the Rutherford County Regional Planning Commission. If everyone would stand, Commissioner Craig Lynch will lead us in our prayer and our pledge. Craig.
Bow with me, please. Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for the blessings. Pray, Heavenly Father, for our country at this time. The situation over in Ukraine, that war will be avoided, and we just pray for that.
Thank you. You may be seated. Call the roll, please, Gail.
Charlotte P. Here. Chip Pinion. Craig Lynch. Yes. David Jones. Here. Jim Averwater. Here. Lee Bogle. Here. Marvin Whitworth. Here. Mike Cush. Here. Pettis Reed.
Here.
Rhonda Allen. Jeff Phillips.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Gail. We have no minutes to approve this morning, and the next item, item 5 on our agenda, is the annual election of chair and vice chair. Jim Averwater, Charlotte P., and Chip Pinion were the nominating committee, and I'll call on Jim Averwater to make that report.
Mr. Chair, after much consideration and debate by the nominating committee has voted to renominate Jeff Phillips as chair and Pettis Reed as vice chair, and barring any further nominations from the floor, we move for approval by this commission.
I guess I should ask, is there any other nominations? Not. I'll entertain a vote. So all those in favor of electing Jeff Phillips as chair and Pettis Reed as vice chair, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Good. That motion carries. Thank you. Pettis and I both will do our best to represent Rutherford County and this commission to the best of our ability. Thank you. We have no items withdrawn or deferred, so we're ready for our business. Item 6A, we have one item submitted for our waiver request, 6A1. Item number is 21-4005. James Cody Smith is requesting a waiver from the minimum lot size for property along a private easement, this is 5 acres, for property located along Crescent Road. Doug?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. As you stated, this property is located off of Crescent Road. The tract is about 8 acres in size. Information provided by the applicant indicates they'd like to subdivide about 2 acres from the parent tract, which would leave about 6 acres. And this subdivision would be for a family member. Mike's got the diagram up on the big screens for you. We did inform the applicant that tracts off private easements need to be at least 5 acres in size, and that they would have to ask for a waiver for this division to proceed. After looking at it, the tract is going to be so far off of Crescent Road that they would also have to have a fire hydrant waiver, so we went ahead and put that in there as well. The applicant has identified soils for both the parent tract, the 6 acres that we are left over, and then for also the 2 acres that are there, so there's adequate soil for septic systems on both lots. However, they did say they knew they would have to go through the surveying process for a plat and everything. They just didn't want to do that until they knew whether or not they could move forward with that, with the waiver request. So the applicant is present, and he'll be able to answer any questions, and as will I if you have any. So I'll turn it over to you.
Staff have a recommendation.
I mean, this isn't unusual. We've seen other type situations before. This wouldn't be the first time we've seen a crest like this.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for staff, please. Now, is my understanding correct that You're allowed up to 3?
That's correct.
So there will be no further divisions of this property permitted
Well,
unless they
from this
make a
particular
county road.
property, it'd probably be difficult. Now, if you look on that tract right below where the yellow highlight is on there, that's also accessing that because that's a landlocked parcel, so that would be one, and then you'd have the second one if this is approved. In theory, you could get one more off of it. I doubt from the subject property. It would have to be from one of the other properties to the south. But the one that's right on Crescent Road actually has quite a bit of road frontage. I don't think it'd be difficult to get another one, but in theory, you could have one more off of the private easement.
What's the width there? Is that 50 foot?
It had to be 50 feet at the road, yes, sir. It's 50 feet.
And the one in the front there, I think might be a water problem, right? Creek comes through there?
That's Lytle Creek that runs across the front of it,
Yeah.
right here.
Now, in the event, I'm assuming that they haven't done any soils testing on this property.
Well, the subject property, the applicant has indicated that there is soils for both tracts if he were to do the subdivision, that they have identified enough soil for systems on both properties.
They have.
Yes.
But I don't guess it concerns us, but the water lines run across those other 2 tracks getting to that track.
I mean, they'd be within easements. He would just have to take care of that.
It is, this just truly out of the ordinary. We've done this before.
We have considered these type requests before, yes, sir. This is not the first time we've seen something like this.
And we've always said because it's a family thing, that's sort of been our reasoning.
Well, I mean, in the past, I would say the commission looks more favorably on those type situations. Now understand that just because it's family now doesn't mean in 20, 30, however many years it's going to be. At some point, one or both of these tracts is going to be owned by non-family members. So, I would encourage that not be the main reason for approving it, just thinking long-term, at some point.
So we are covering our bases if somebody else does buy this in the future, which, like you say, might do it. There's nothing there hanging that come back and get on to us about that we didn't require that.
Right. What we would have to do, well, not us, but if this is approved, the applicant knows they would have to get a surveyor, they have to get a plat drawn up, which would have to be considered by the commission. We would require cross-access easements and everything. Everything would be shown on the plat. That way it's clear to everybody, whoever buys the property, down the line in the future, that yes, this is a shared drive, that it's not exclusive to one or the other. Yeah.
And who maintains that drive?
That would be the property owners.
There's a lot of loose ends, but there's a lot of loose ends in a lot of things. So I'll make a motion to approve it.
With all the staff comments?
All staff's comments,
Thank you, Craig.
plus whatever they think of.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve item 21-4005 for James Cody Smith. Any other questions or comments?
One question, please. So what's the possibility of them coming up a month or two from now and in the north portion of that track want to cut off another 2 acres? I mean, something for me, if we maintain the 5-acre limit that we normally would, and in the case that you have sub 10 acres to split, should it not? I wish we had a rule in place that it had to be a 50-50 split, that it has to be
Right. I mean,
cut directly in half, because I'm afraid this will be a couple of acres and then come back later in the north part to be a couple of acres. I'm just trying to
Right.
think ahead on that.
Right, and I understand where you're coming from. You know, I don't know if I can necessarily, say that that just isn't going to happen. Of course, they would have to make sure they had enough soil on the property for the lot that they're trying to create now, the remaining property, and then for another new property they would create. Any conversations I've had with the applicant at this point have only indicated this one tract. So, but I can't sit here and say that could never happen.
And I do know we've approved these in the past on a case basis, and I'm just trying to think through the possibilities here, because then
Right.
you also
Well-
have the parcel to the south that it could split in another couple
Yeah.
acres, and all of a sudden you've got 5 parcels there.
Right. Well,
so-
and you can only have, like, I think Craig was asking, no, was it Jim or Craig? I forget who, about the number of lots off the easement. You're limited to 3.
Okay. I forgot
Even
about
if,
that.
yeah, if somebody else comes in and wants to split, I mean, that easement at that point is done. Doesn't matter if somebody else wants to do it or not. Yeah.
So we have a way to limit that. Okay, I feel
There
better
is,
about
yes,
it
sir.
then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Ready to vote? Once again, we have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. 6B, we have one item submitted for preliminary plan approval. 6B1, item 22-1001, Griffith Park, Section 5. 17 lots on 8.31 acres zoned RM located along Lebanon Pike and US 231 and Cutoff Road. Legacy Real Estate Group is the applicant. Doug.
Yes, sir, thank you. The applicant is proposing, as you stated, to divide the remaining area of the Griffith Park property into residential lots. You'll recall that when this subdivision, Griffith Park, first was considered by the Planning Commission, they were looking at a commercial potential node for that area. That ended up being removed from the development, just left as RM. About a year or two after, probably a couple years after that, they did try to zone that property for commercial purposes. Again, that was ended up not going very far, so the property as it is zoned today is still zoned residential medium density. The applicant is proposing now to divide this into 17 different lots. These are going to be your standard RM-sized lots, 15,000 square feet minimum. These will not be similar in size to the existing lots in Griffith Park or Griffith Cove to the north. So these will be, as you can see from the plat that Mike has up here, the plan, that the lots are pretty much double the size of what you see in Griffith Park or Griffith Cove. As far as our comments are concerned, most of our comments pretty much have been addressed. Pretty much all of them have been. I will make a note just to say that the open space PUD area, kind of on lot 7 there toward the bottom of the page, they were showing a mail kiosk in that area. I talked with the engineering firm and just told them, there really is no sense in using that as a kiosk location. There is a central kiosk location already in Griffith Park that they could just utilize that, just add another box to it, and they agreed to do that. So that was removed from the plan, just a little FYI on that. But beyond that, this meets our comments and regulations as far as the preliminary plan is concerned. Of course, now the next step would be going through construction drawings and eventually final plat. But as it's shown today, Mike, unless you had any other comments, this appears to be in good order.
Doug, what about sewer and waste disposal? Is it on sewer or?
They'd use the existing step system for Griffith Park, yes, sir.
Quite frankly, I like this better than the commercial aspect that they had originally submitted, because it always gave me heartburn with those people that were going to be buying homes on that street, and then someday some commercial added behind them, and many of them would have, I suspect, had been surprised and very disappointed. I like the fact that they're putting in bigger lots myself. Therefore, I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve, including staff comments in that motion. Jim? Thank you.
Subject to all staff comments.
Good. Once again, we have a motion and a second to approve item 22-1001, Griffith Park, Section 5. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. 6C, we have one item submitted for final plat approval. Item 6C1 21-2104, Town and Country Estates, re-subdivision of Lot 7, 3 lots on 5.98 acres zoned RM, located along Volunteer Road. Stephron James is the applicant. Doug?
Yes, sir, thank you. As stated, this applicant is asking to split this property into 3 different lots. Mike's got it on the map right here. Lot 3 will contain the existing house. The other 2 lots will be new building sites. No waivers are required as part of this plat approval. The comments that we had have been addressed. Mike did make a comment that I'll relay to the Planning Commission. You can see in the back of the property there's a 50-foot colonial gas line easement. We just want to verify that there may be an adjacent Atmos easement as well, as long as a colonial. We just need to verify that if that's there. If it is, this needs to be shown on the plat. But beyond that, this plat is in good order. Our comments have been addressed beyond that. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Doug, how do you get back to the property that's at the pipeline? Okay, I see the waiver over there. But if the house is built behind the pipeline, then you'll have to cross the pipeline with your driveway.
Right, and of course they would have to make sure through the gas company that that they're doing the crossing per whatever regulations they would have.
Does it meet all your requirements?
Yes, sir, beyond our one comment about verifying the width of that easement. Other than that, everything else is in order.
I'll make a motion to approve it, subject to all your staff comments.
We have a motion and a second to approve item number 21-2104, Town and Country Estates, re-subdivision of Lot 7. Other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. 6D, we have one item submitted for site plan approval. 6D1, item number is 22-3002, Goodwin Plumbing, construction of 10,000 square feet of construction sales and service space, 2 5,000 square feet buildings on 1.49 acres zoned EAC, Employment Activity Center, located along Capitol Way. Goodwin Plumbing is the applicant. Doug?
Yes, sir, thank you. As you stated, the applicant is proposing to build 2 5,000 square foot buildings on this property. This would be a phased development. There'd be 1 building in each phase. Of course, in the first phase, you'll see that the drainage pond and everything in the back has also been made a part of phase 1. This is going to be served with sewer from the City of Murfreesboro, so the applicant's aware that they do also need City of Murfreesboro Planning Commission approval before getting any permits, and of course permits have to be issued through the county and city on this project as well. Consolidated Utility has stated that they have not submitted all the paperwork and everything that they need, but that's something that obviously as they go through getting ready for construction and everything, they'll need to submit directly to CUD for any comments that they may have for any revisions to their plan. But beyond that, our comments have been addressed. We are going to require, a road connection agreement prior to any pre-construction meeting for this property. Now that's just something they'll take care of when they get to that point. So, but beyond that, this plan seems to be in good order. So, Jim.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
Thank you, Mike. We have a motion and a second to approve item 22-3002, site plan approval for Goodwin Plumbing. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye. Is there any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. Staff reports. Doug, you got something for us?
Yes, sir. Just briefly, just wanted to present to you the year-end report. It's on your iPads, and Mike's got it on the big screen as well. We've got a couple of charts in here, kind of giving you an overview of the available lot inventory, and we've got several graphs in here as well to help display this information a little graphically. On this page here that Mike's getting close to the bottom of, you see the total available lots right now. Now, this was as of the end of December, so the year end, we had 675 available lots, and you'll see how that compares to what we were looking at the end of 2020, which was 902, so you can see the inventory has decreased. This next chart here, these are plats that are in some phase of development but haven't been finalized yet or recorded for building permit at this point. So you'll see various sections, preliminary plans, things like that. These are all just the non-recorded lots. Now, the number that you'll see on the bottom of this page here, 5,354, that's a pretty big number. Don't forget that 1,100 of those come or are from the Harmony development over there on Franklin Road. So still quite a few lots in the pipeline, and things are moving. These next couple charts here, this is something new that we just started doing a little earlier this year. We started, as you know, the school's facilities tax, which replaced the development tax, and one of the members of Public Works Committee asked for a breakdown as far as the number of lots that are remaining that are under the development tax versus those that would be under the new school's facilities tax. So these next two charts here are essentially the same data that you just looked at on that other chart, just broken down as to whether or not it's recorded before July 1st of 2021 or after. So this chart here, this is those still under the development tax. This chart will continue to get smaller and smaller as time goes on, because obviously these will all eventually be built out and used up, and you see there's a lot of them that only have a handful of lots left. So when you look at this, and Mike, just go ahead and scroll down. There you go. 540 lots are what's left in the development tax as far as the major lots that we track, anything with 4 lots or greater, and then or 3 lots or greater, excuse me. And then, Mike, if you kind of scroll down to the next page, these are those that are under the school's facilities tax. This is the one that's the other one's always going to decrease. This one's going to fluctuate. We'll see it go up and down just based on what plats have been recorded, what permits have been issued, et cetera, et cetera. So this just gives you an idea, and we'll start graphically tracking this. We've only been doing this for a couple months now, so a graph right now wouldn't really help much, if any. This kind of gives you an idea of the total available lots. Then when we started tracking this back in January of 2009 through the present, or at least through the end of December, you can see when we first started tracking this, of course, as you recall, that was kind of toward the height of the recession that we had back in 2008, 9, 10, in that area. Our maximum available lot inventory, and again, I just want to make sure I stress to everybody that this is just the unincorporated county, okay? This does not count the municipalities. This is just what we have control over. You'll see that the maximum we had was 1,688, and then we had a low point, kind of when things were really going, between 2016 and 2017 of 548, and you kind of see it went up a little bit, and it's kind of been trending back down lately. So we're down to 675. So that kind of, again, corresponds to what we discussed a little bit earlier. If you can go into the next chart, Mike. These next couple charts here, this is just, again, this is what we track. The reason we did it this way with 4 lots or greater is because historically it's how we've tracked it, rather than try to change up how we were tracking it. It was based before on how we classified major and minor subdivisions. It was always a major plat was anything 4 lots or greater, so we just kept tracking it in that regard. But you can see, again, you can see the high of 1,194, and then the low back in 2011 of just 60. And then it started trending back up. Right before the pandemic, we were up to 943, and then COVID happened, and then it's gone down to 603. A lot of volatility still around, but we still managed to pretty much hold steady. You know, we were one lot short as what we were in 2020. So things are still moving along pretty well. Our rezoning applications, I really can't give you an explanation as to why the numbers do what they do on this one. You'll see it's kind of all over the map. Generally, if you look at it, you can see it's kind of trending upward. If you just do a straight line through it, you could kind of see it doing that. But you'll see it's been as high as 31, then went down to 22, 24, then, you know, during 2020 it was 30, and then last year we only had 17. Now, this doesn't mean that all of them were approved. This is just the ones that actually came to the Planning Commission. So there were 17 different applications. And then Board of Zoning Appeals, you'll notice that that number has gone down pretty, you know, a good trend. You can see it's going down. The reason that is going down is just because of some of the regulation changes we've made that's taken out the need for certain applications to be made. A good example are the firework tents that you see every 4th of July. When you see them in the same location year in and year out, we used to require them all to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Now, if it's a renewal, we started this just a few years ago, if it's a renewal of an existing site, we've had no complaints, whatever, we allow them just to do an administrative renewal at a smaller fee and less work as far as administration is concerned. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what the Board of Zoning Appeals has done over the last year. So that just gives you just a 30,000-foot overview of what we have done in the activity we've seen, I should say. Of course, you know, this doesn't take into account the number of construction plans have been reviewed, the number of zoning compliance forms have been issued, and things like that. But just wanted to present that information for your reference. And if you have questions, we'd be more than happy to talk about them.
Questions for staff? Last couple of years, even with the issues that we've had within the county, within the state, within the nation, business has picked up. Don't expect this year to be any different. Doug, have you made this presentation before BZA or before Public Works?
No, we'll present this to Public Works next month. But,
Okay.
And we'll give it to BZA as well.
Just a thought process, I'd kind of like for this to be presented before the full county commission too, just to update the commission on.
Now, we can just include it with our report after our rezoning report, just to make mention that it's on there for anyone to see.
Very good. Anything else?
Nope, that's all we have.
Commission, anything? Again, Pettis.
Mr. Chairman, before we leave here, I do want to tell everyone here, as far as this committee is concerned, if you remember, several weeks ago, we approved a plat or a piece of property out here off of 99 for a new public health and safety facility for Rockville. This Friday, we will be breaking ground for that new facility at 1 o'clock, and if any of you can be out there for that, you'd be most welcome for it, because this will be our first of 6 that we plan to do here in this county. And I think this is, I know for me as a commissioner, it is going to be exciting to see that this is finally happening and coming to the forefront of what we're trying to do with here in the county. But this committee was part of it, so just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Pettis. There's been a lot of people put a lot of work into this. The expense for the county is minimal. As a lot of it, there's funds that's been made available through us from the federal government. And once again, there's been a lot of people put a lot of time, and thank you for that. But I'll just say that no one has put in more time than Commissioner Pettis Reed, and thank you, Pettis, for looking out for not only those Rockville people, but for all the people in some of those public safety buildings that'll be built in the future. Thank you. Anything else? Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, the 14th of February. That'll be a 6 p.m. meeting right here in this room. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.